Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin.
All right, let's do this. Oh my goodness. Happy Moon Day. Welcome. My name is Gracia Lamore. Welcome to Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace, where we gather every single moon day at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, to discuss where is the moon today, where is it going to be for the rest of the week, and what are the major astrological shifts. We're not going to talk about everything because astrology is just way too deep and profound, right? So if any of this resonates and you want to expand your astrological awareness, then book a call. But I'm so excited to discuss what's happening this week. Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Cecilia. So grateful that you're here. This week is major. This week feels, I guess you can follow up with some feedback and tell me if it feels motivating, if it feels like there's a fire that's been lit within, maybe some insight that prompted action, right? Mars is in Virgo, so we've been talking about action for a few weeks now, but what's going on this week is as major as that New Year's type of vibe, new beginnings. Of course, there's the new moon, so we're going to talk about the new moon, but there's also, thank you, Cecilia. Cecilia says she likes my dress. I appreciate that. So New Year's Eve type of energy. And I say that because what's happening this week is the beginning of an 18-month transit. Is it a transit? I guess we can call it a transit. And so it almost feels like it's a brand new year. And this is huge. Now, we've never talked about the lunar nodes because the last time that there was a lunar nodes shift was in January of 2022. And Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace was private at the time. We were not on Fireside, right? So we started Fireside on August after several months of me doing Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace in private on Zoom with clients and the collective. And then we launched this show. So we've never had a chance to really discuss what the lunar nodes are or what it means or the magnitude of what it is. And so we're going to talk about it today because they're going to shift. They shifted today, or they are shifting, or they will shift. This is like an 18-month thing, and then it'll last that long. So it does mean something. And then the new moon in Cancer happening today. How are you feeling? How have you felt all weekend long? The moon transitioned into Cancer Friday night. We discussed it last week, and it was on Cancer. No. Saturday night, it transitioned into Cancer. Then it was on Cancer Sunday. And then today is the new moon. Water sign. Cancer is ruled by the moon, right? That's what it's called, which means Cancer is at home when the moon is in Cancer. And we've talked about the nurturing aspect of it, we have talked about the motherly aspect of Cancer, the homey aspect of it, how we've also discussed how it's a hard shell, and it takes Cancers tend to take their time and to be cautious, right? It's almost like you have to knock through the hard shell before getting through the center. Welcome, Peter. And so the moon in Cancer, I was okay. My natal moon is in Cancer. So when the moon is in Cancer, I feel fine. But somebody like my child, for example, he cried at least 3 or 4 times before noon. And in a very gentle, motherly way, I tried to address the fact that there really was no reason for him to cry. And I tread very lightly when I have these conversations with my 4-year-old because I don't want to gaslight him and I want him to feel emotionally safe. But at the same time, relatively speaking, the fact that your little YouTube just ended and the one that came after is not the one you want to watch is really not a reason to make a big deal, right? But then the moon is in Cancer and it's like all the feels. So that was my morning. How was your day? I posted earlier how if you work in an office, maybe your boss could have been moody today, or your colleagues, or you may have felt moody just aside from the moon in Cancer and how it stirs up all the feels, right? This change in the lunar nodes, I feel like, will also trigger some, not dissociation, but disembodiment. And we want to be embodied. And I say disembodiment because we're transitioning into it. It takes some time to continue to adjust to these shifts that are essentially movements out there in the universe that then ripple to actually invisibly and untangibly touch us in the energetic wave of how everything moves, right? And this visual comes to mind of the grid of the entire universe and how it moves as the orb moves within the grid of squares, right? I'm very visual like that, so I hope that makes sense. But let me explain what the lunar nodes are. I like to imagine, hello, Taryn, you're just in time for the gist of it all. So the lunar nodes, I like to envision them in my head as if I had a school experiment right here, with the same way that we have the globe of the earth, and there's a little, thing at the top of it, and then a little thing at the bottom of it, and then the orb, spins on these two North Pole and South Pole points, right? And then the structure is wooden, or however you wish. I had like an earth globe right here, but I know you can see it, right? Point is, these two things, screws or whatever, holding the globe in place, hopefully they are exactly aligned. But the point is that the nodes are aligned, and they're considered the destiny line or the fate line. And so if you don't believe in destiny, or if you don't believe in fate, First of all, welcome, but it makes me question what brought you to this type of conversation. Because I feel like, with the context of this show, we all pretty much believe in destiny, fate, the universe, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And so the thing about the nodes is that your north node is essentially your your calling, what you aspire to, what you're meant to reach up to, where your higher self resides, where the qualities that will exemplify your highest, best, most authentic achievement or expression of self. That's the north node. And then the south node represents where you come from. A lot of people call this the karmic line, the line of fate, right? And so, in your chart, which is a circle, and if you don't know what your birth chart is and you want to find out, book a free call and I'll guide you through it. The link is in my bio. But essentially, it's wherever the north node is. So for me, it's in Taurus. Even though I am a sun Taurus, my north node is also in Taurus, which is really interesting. Whatever the sign is opposite to that in the chart is your south node. So my south node is in Scorpio, and it's been really interesting this whole past 18 months where the nodes were actually in Taurus and Scorpio, and I have been experiencing exponential growth in the past year, and now the nodes are literally shifting. So picture these 2 points that hold the moon together, spinning in its own axis every 24 hours, right? Now they're shifting from Taurus and Scorpio to Aries and Libra. And this is going to take place for the next 18 months. So this type of shift is huge for all of us. And it's the first time that we get to discuss it here in Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace. And I am just so excited. Taryn, I see your hands. I'm so excited that you're here. How does all of that sound? And how have you been? I would love to catch up. If you want to grab the mic, you're welcome to request it and tell me, how was your weekend? Because of the moon in Cancer, it stirs up all the feels, and it at the same time it felt very homey. It felt like comfort food. It felt like just being home, which is what Cancer is all about. And then today we actually had a monsoon happening over here. Well, maybe not. That's being dramatic. Just it rained and there was thunder, and it felt like the perfect new moon energy to cleanse and to release and to watch as the water just took away everything that for the past 18 months may have stirring up inside and really just had no place or no resonance or just didn't really fit. Thank you. I'm glad finally something resonated. Okay. Because that's what the new moon invites. Now, there's so much happening astrologically that this may not be the moon to really manifest in terms of, this is the list of the things that I want. I want this and this and that, right? I feel like this new moon in Cancer, in preparation for this major shift happening for the next 18 months with Aries and Libra as the nodes, it really just calls for one of my favorite questions, which I ask a lot, which is, what is the feeling you're trying to create? Because sometimes when we think about the end goal and we have a thing that we want to do, to create, to bring to life, to whatever, to go to, write an experience that you want to have, you can think of the end goal and try to backtrack. I love to reverse engineer things, right? I imagine the end goal and then I figure out, how do I do it from step one? But at the same time, I cannot control the end result. That may be the one thing that is out of my control. I can only control the step that I am at in the moment that I am in it, right? Even though that's my goal and even though that's my vision, I have no control over the end result. And so, with that in mind, I really love to ponder what is the feeling that I'm trying to create? Because if I focus on the feeling, at the end of the day, when I get to that finish line, whatever happens, I want to remember the feeling that I wanted to have and then try to coincide it with whatever the end result is, which, I don't want to, we don't need to get into hypotheticals, right? I feel like this is general enough. And so the thing about shifting from Taurus to Scorpio is that this whole past year, we've been coming from our intuitive self, which is Scorpio, water sign. We've talked about how deep Scorpio goes and how dark it is. Think like revenge, think lies and secrets, think conspiracies. That's very Scorpio. And I'm not saying that's been the whole collective experience, but let's just say intuitive shadow self, stirring up inside. And then the North Node in Taurus for the past 18 months may have invited you to really ground those feelings, to really figure out what serves you in the material world, the earth of it all, right? And so we are transitioning from that to fire and air, coming from air to fire. Libra is mostly known for its charm, but is charm always appropriate? Is charm always called for? Or can charm be a little bit sometimes hypocritical, or sometimes a bit annoying, or sometimes a bit like, do you even read the room? And we have discussed how Libra can be very indecisive. Libra wants to stay on the fence and not really pick a side. Libra likes to keep the peace. Libra likes to ponder the collective and fairness, obviously. And so Aries, which is what we are now being called to really look up to and just direct our attention to. If you're going to think about, your North Star literally for the next 18 months, not 18 years, 18 months, your North Star will literally be Aries because that's where the shift is. And so let's talk about Aries. Aries is a fire sign. So this is why in the beginning I asked, do you feel like there's a newly sparked fire within? Think about that. It could be creative, it could be spiritual, it could be motivational, it could be totally emotional, of course, with this new moon in Cancer. It could be I don't know. I think I covered them all. Okay. And so Libra, who has really kept quiet within, and had things just sitting there for for the hope of not stirring the pot, right? Um, Now Aries wants to be like, no, what are you going to decide? Make a decision. Take the step, take the leap of faith, launch the business, do the thing, change your life, take the trip, go see the person, go on a first date. Like Libra is assertive. Libra is pep in your step. No, not Libra. Dang it! I'm glad I caught that. Aries. Aries is assertive. Aries is a pep in your step. Aries wants you to really identify yourself from the collective. Who are you when no one else is looking? Who are you at your core? The fire of Aries wants you to really know so that then you can decide how to best move forward in the next 18 months. And the thing is that in my experience, when I really just not care and not really tune in to what the astrology prompts me to look into, then I really experience major discomfort. And the thing is that there's growing pains. I totally get it. So we're about to experience it and we're going to talk about it all. But at the same time, growing pains are, a measure of growth, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So are we able and willing to be assertive enough to want to be aware of what's happening so that we don't suffer, like, overly suffer? Because my observation is when I'm aware of what's happening, even if I get the feelings and even if the tears come or the anger comes, I already know why it's happening. And so I get over it that much quicker. And then I go on with my day. I go on with my life. I go on with my list of things that I actually want to do that move the wheel along. And so, that's so much. That is so much. And let's not forget that Mars is still in Virgo until what, August 27th, I think it is. And now Venus is also in retrograde in Leo. And you know what? We're going to talk about that next week because we have plenty of time with that transit. But essentially, think about retrograde, think about the opposite of, think about Venus and your values and what you really believe in and what you love and pleasure. And then think about Leo and how Leo likes to be recognized. Leo wants to be seen. Leo really likes to be the center of attention, and it's all good with that because we all should be, because the universe really does revolve around each of us, right? And so Venus retrograde, it's a mess. And then um all of this is happening with Pluto squaring the sun and the moon. And Pluto, we talked about last week. And essentially, Pluto is transformation. Pluto is your shadow self again. Pluto is your inner child that is super wounded, and, the band aid is just not enough. And Pluto really likes to stir the pot for the hope of transformation. It's not, none of this is rhetorical and none of this is just, torture. All of this is for your own growth, right? And so when Pluto is literally squaring the sun and the moon, that means that all of this filth is gonna come up not just intellectually, but emotionally. And you have to coincide the two in order to make sense of them and then move on from it. And as you know, I make sense of it all through journaling. So pick your modality and figure out what, how you want to really hold space for yourself. If not every day, then at least this week, because there's a lot happening. And if you don't really pause to hold space for yourself, then it's going to come at the worst time, right? Like when one of your colleagues does something really innocent and silly and, just innocent, right? And they think it's funny and you just don't think it's funny, maybe you explode. And that's just not fun. The point of letting things flow through us, or us flowing through things, is for us not to really hold all of that emotion like a dam and then it just breaks over and it's an avalanche of water. Do we call it that, an avalanche, or is that just for snow? You know what I mean. I'm pretty sure you saw the visual of all the water, right? And that's the point. Not to repress, and to express how we feel. So that's your week. We're going to talk about the moon as well, but I feel like that was a lot. And if you have questions, you're more than welcome to request the mic. Welcome, Sonia, and welcome, Anthony. So the moon is in Cancer today, and after that, it goes to Leo, which, you know the drill. Taryn is here. She could probably tell us more about this. Or if any of you have your moon in Leo, because let's not forget that the sun in Leo is not the same as the moon in Leo, right? And then after that, it's going to go into Virgo. Now, let's talk again about Mars in Virgo, because that's what's happening until August 27th. So Mars is the planet of action, aggression. It's I think it's a cardinal sign, which means, think cardinal, think at the top, think important, right? And so is Aries. And so when you combine that context, you pretty much have a nuclear bomb, right? And Mars in Virgo, it's prompting Mars to really make sense of it all, to really organize, to strategize the thing. And I feel like this whole North Node moving into Aries is also going to be productive, or is already feeling productive, because Mars is in Virgo. And so you kind of attach all of those contexts or correspondences together. And what that gets you is a newfound motivation to really decide on what you want to work on moving forward, and then moving forward with that fire and that authenticity and that confidence and tenacity that are characteristic of Aries, and hopefully get that project moving along, right? Because Libra doesn't really want to decide for whatever reason. I'm just not going to do this because I'm too insecure. I'm just not going to do this because, what if I fail? Or I'm just not going to do this because I don't want to stir the pot. Or I'm just not going to do this because I'm afraid of haters online. Or I'm just not going to do this because whatever, 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 right? So that's the South Node in Libra. And then Aries is like, no, just pick, just do the thing. You got this. You're confident. You're well prepared. You've worked so hard. Cheer, cheer, cheer. You got the spark. Do it. And so I'm very excited. But everything else that's happening, yeah, that's Aries right there. Ow, like that. That's Aries, right? And so the moon in Leo is also gonna add a pep to that step, even though Venus, I was going to say Virgo, Venus is in retrograde in Leo. And then the moon moves into Virgo Thursday and Friday. And then by Sunday, it's going to be in Libra. So we'll see what happens. But we are following Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace Manifestation Agenda / Journal. Available on Amazon. But if you just want to get the pages from today onward, become a subscriber. The link is in the bio, and you get the PDF every month for the month that you have. Thank you. So let me just take a sip of this. Okay. Let's talk about the desires of your heart. That's very Venus and very new moon in Cancer, and how the new moon is really, pondering what the desire of your heart is in the context of what is the feeling that you want to accomplish? What is the feeling that you want to what is the feeling goal? Is it happiness? Is it peace? Is it, I don't know, how do you want to describe it, right? I feel like I would describe it such as utter happiness or lavish abundance, right? So the new moon invites you to that. And I know that word lavish is so nice. So the affirmations for the week, we have double whammy affirmations, because we have the affirmations from Moon Day and we have the affirmations from the new moon, which we're going to discuss as well. But tomorrow, Tuesday, Mars Day, I'll be live on Instagram to journal and paint together for the new moon that happened tonight. So the affirmations are: I plant seeds of hope and prosperity everywhere I go. Look at us, planting seeds of hope and prosperity everywhere we go. I love it. And my inner landscape, my inner landscape is a sacred space. And I feel like I now in retrospect, right? Because I wrote the book and then it's done. But in retrospect, I feel like I would have switched them, because think about the landscape where you plant those seeds. It needs to be prepared. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be cleansed. Think about, before I pour my tea or pour my water into my Moon Magic and Mindfulness mug, I cleanse it. I clean it, right? Like, I'm not going to put something in there if it's dirty. And it's the same with ourselves. And so the affirmation of my inner landscape is a sacred space has to do with that inner garden we've talked about, that inner garden we've all visually visited together if you do the meditations, right? Where we can really assess how we are doing emotionally and mentally. This is actually one of the practices that I coach my clients through, which is the sacred garden, right? And it's a meditation that you don't just do randomly, but you do it continuously because you may visit your sacred garden and see that it needs, attention, or that something is growing wild. And what is that something? And you ask spirit. And this is something that Miss Sally Morningstar told me, taught me. And it's just one of those wonderful meditations. My subscribers have a copy of this. And you get to really decide what's in that inner sacred garden space, what transpires there, who is the gardener, so on and so forth. And so, all of that to say that obviously these affirmations are in the context of the new moon, because that's really what the new moon is about. It's about um, preparing the soil for us to plant the seeds of intention, as we have discussed many an episode, right? And so those are the affirmations. As you know, the agenda invites you to ponder, what will you make sure that you do this week? If nothing else happens, what will I make sure to do? What will you create this week? And what are you grateful for? This really should be a daily practice of questions that you can ask yourself to kind of get your mind in the game of productivity and focus, and just the evolving wheel of gratitude, which should be daily, which should be every moment, so on and so forth, right? And then, of course, the journaling, which, as it turns out, my journaling has been very, like a lot about parental figures, and some of the insight that came up in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 months with my coach and my therapy and all of that work that nobody wants to do, but that really just brings a lot of clarity to the table. And at least I'll speak for myself, allows me to just focus on what I really want to do. Because honestly, sometimes I'll shove things down because I know that when I get to see my coach or my therapist, I can open up and unload, and a professional is holding space, and I can just figure it out. That's what we're here for, right? Now, the new moon in Cancer, we have questions that are not necessarily in the context of the notes change, but they are in the context of the new moon in Cancer and what you may be feeling, experiencing, or what you're being called to address, just in the context of Cancer and the new moon, and the fact that it's also Cancer season still. So definitely, like, all the feels, emotional, just everything. It's, when I say all the feels, here's the thing. When the moon is in Cancer, let's just say, if my back hurts when the moon is in Leo, I may not say anything. I may just, whatever. My back is sore. So, c'est la vie. Moving on with my day. Let me take some, I don't know, ibuprofen or whatever, right? But when the moon is in Cancer and my back hurts, I may be really needy. Or I may be really like, I hate pain, and it's just such a bummer, and I feel so old, and I just want to be like in shape. That's what I mean. Like, that's the difference sometimes, right? Like a very stark, sharp difference from one day to the next sometimes. And this is one of the observations that really inspired me to want to talk all the time about this. And that is like how different it feels when the moon is in one planet one day and then it moves to, on a sign. When the moon is in a sign one day and then it moves to the other sign the next day, and you feel differently about things. Or the thing that you have been overthinking for the past week or for the past month now makes sense when the moon suddenly is back in the planet or the sign that corresponds to the thing that you were trying to figure out. It is so fascinating. I really could talk about this all day. Okay, new moon in Cancer. How am I making sure that my home is a safe sanctuary? That kind of corresponds to how we sit and watch as physical chaos, right, is created. If you have toddlers like myself, you know what I'm talking about, right? How sometimes it's easier to just let the chaos ensue and let the chaos, rise because we're just very comfortable where we are at in the moment. And then it triggers something, especially if you're a highly sensitive person who is sensitive to the environment, which means if you're in a hot mess, you're going to feel hot and bothered, but in the bad way. So, how am I making sure that my home is a safe sanctuary? Now, that was all about physical stuff. What about energetic stuff? How do you cleanse your energetic space? Do you do any of that? Do you even know about that? Are you interested in knowing? Those are the three questions, right? There's lots of ways to cleanse an energetic space. The Catholics like to do it with blessed water, and they just cleanse everything. They also use incense. So there's just lots of ways to cleanse a space, and it doesn't really need to be only in a sacred space environment like a church, because your home is also a sacred space. That's the whole point of this conversation, right? So cleansing your space can be done in lots of ways. And if you prefer to burn a candle, or if you prefer the incense, or if you prefer like Febreze, oh my gosh, every single time you Febreze the air, you are cleansing the energy of the space. You are making the space, like the air of it, brand new. What you're doing. So think about that the next time you spray. How am I anchoring my desires and intentions, despite the fears that may arise? Okay, so this question is very nodes in Libra and Aries, and I'm gonna tell you why. Let's deconstruct it. So Libra stays in the fence sometimes because of fear, right? Fear of disappointing people, fear of stirring the pot in a bad way, fear of, breaking someone's heart. I'm just not going to break up with her because I'm scared of just making her feel bad, or like whatever. I don't know where that came from. So it must be a channeled thing. So if anybody watching needs to break up, Aries really wants you to make a decision, okay? And to not really ponder the fear. So Libra is the fear, and Aries is like, it's okay. You're only going to know once you do it. If you don't do it, you'll never know. So do the thing and then deal with consequences, which is, cause and effect. And the whole point of being aware is to make hopefully the right decision so that the effect is not one that you'll regret. There you go. Let's normalize regrets for once, right? So how am I anchoring my desires, new moon, into and intentions, new moon, despite the fears that may arise? Because Aries really wants you to just do it despite the fear. And if you are afraid to the point that you are frozen, which is a normal response to stress, right? Fight or flight or freeze, then speak up. Take one small action. Like, Aries may be really lighting up a spark, in your booty, but you may just be like, no, 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 I just need a match. Like, take it easy. We have 18 months to figure this out, right? You don't have to do it all today. And in fact, some of everything that I may have said, some of everything may not resonate at all, but it may resonate later on. And the thing is that these changes, like the nodes changing, affects every single sign differently. And it's not just about the sign, it's about the house where the sign falls in your chart, and it is really complicated. So at the end of the day, you want to look at where Aries and Libra are in your sign in your chart, and you also want to revisit pretty much the transits that are happening. So, where is Venus in your sign? Right now, it is retrograding in Leo. And where is Mars in your sign? Right now, it is in Virgo until August 27th. And so, if you don't know what your chart looks like, then book a call. The link is in my bio, and I'll get you sorted out because it just so much makes sense once you find out what is your chart and how it applies to the present astrology. Because the thing is, for example, the new moon in Cancer right now is today. Let's just say that the last new moon in Cancer, which I have no idea when it was, but let's just say the last new moon in Cancer was 2022, August something. You cannot compare the new moons in Cancer, even though they're both new moons and they're both happening in Cancer. Why? Because the sun is in one place in July and in a different place in August, and all of the rest of the planets were in a different place in August, and now they're in a different place today. And so, this is why it's like a never ending study as all of these things move and evolve and just create a different energy every single time, which is why it's so fascinating, probably. But the new moon affirmations are: I am at home with my emotions and dreams. And that's all new moon in Cancer talking. And I make sure my relationships, that's Libra, are equally supportive, totally Libra talking, and understanding of my needs and ideas, because Aries is really calling me to ponder those needs and ideas and be selfish for once. And I am just hopeful that my relationships are equally supportive. What a freaking affirmation. I just need to like really ponder all of this. Like, this is, I feel like I need to watch this episode back because this is just so charged. So, those are your questions. I'll ponder them again. I mean, I'll tell you again. How am I making sure that my home is a safe sanctuary? That can be such a loaded question. And also, here's the thing, this question is important because Cancer wants you to be at home. Cancer wants you to be about home. Cancer wants you to be a home buddy. And Aries really wants to remind you that you can be at home anywhere you go, as long as you are authentic and true to yourself and, tenacious enough to go for your truth and to defend your truth and to just do the thing. And so, wherever your home is, if it's not on the physical plane, then where is home inside? And, because it's a water sign, dissociation is part of the game. How are you escaping into that peaceful landscape, sacred landscape that really provides you with safety and security if your physical landscape doesn't really check those boxes? That's really what some of this energy is about. So how am I making sure that my home is a safe sanctuary, and how am I anchoring my desires and intentions despite the fears that may arise? Because Aries, wants you to really be confident and to really stand your ground. That's it. That's all of it. And I feel like that is plenty. And that was enough for us to just, I don't know, say Happy New Year and really ponder um, some moves going forward. And in the energy of New Year's, this is a great time to do another check-in. I know that we did a check-in in June because it was month number 6 and halfway through the year, blah, blah, blah. But we're right in between eclipses. So we're going to have an eclipse in another 2 months. And we all know how eclipses are very important. Eclipses actually happen in the nodes of the moon. So this is all tied together. And we're not just right in between eclipses, but this shift that just is the bookend to the next 18 months. This is major. So again, don't really fumble your way through. We're going to unpack and disentangle all of it in the next 18 months. We're going to do it together because that's what this is for. And I'm just so grateful and so excited. So yay, us! We made it. We made it through another year of all of it. And I'm just so proud and so grateful for you, grateful for all of your support, grateful for you for getting the mug, booking a call, figuring all out with my help. I'm just so grateful for you. And Spirit really wanted me to share what this card is because it came out earlier on a reading that I did. And this is the star. And the reason why Spirit wanted me to show it to you is because this star on the Thoth tarot deck, look at how first of all, it really reminds me of Aquarius because Aquarius pours the water. And in this depiction, she is releasing water on this side and then pouring water over herself. So this card on this context of the Thoth tarot deck really reminds me of out with the old and in with the new, and that's very much the energy of what is happening today. And this is the first card that came out earlier on the reading that I did. And so I was so pleasantly surprised because I was like, yay, there it is. That's the shift that's happening right now as we speak, just moving from one thing to the next and how it really feels sometimes on the physical as well as the emotional and the intellectual level. It's all just so fascinating. So, with that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for connecting and asking your questions. And let's go ahead and get ready for our meditation. So let's dial that fire down and just chill. Because even though this conversation was extremely exciting, it is bedtime for at least 90% of the people in this room. And so let's get on with it. Both feet on the ground. If you're sitting down, just relax. And if you're laying down, much better. We're going to do deep belly breaths. So I totally recommend that you lay down. And if you drift off, it's all good. No grudges, no hard feelings. We're going to go ahead and access Brain FM. You can enjoy a free trial and 20% off your membership in the link in bio. And just relax. Settle down, settle all of that energy down. Imagine as glitter just trickles down and settles at the bottom of a glass. And now that you're relaxed and settled into your breath, nice and slow, with me, take a deep breath in through your nose. Deep, deep, deep breath in all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it out through your mouth. Nice and slow. Long breath out all the way. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in again. Deep breath in all the way through your nose. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let it out through your mouth. Nice and slow all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And relax. And as you relax, I want you to feel the warmth of a fire in front of you. Feel the comfort of the perfect weather for you in a dark, starry night. I want you to feel the gladness of feeling at home in your body in this moment, right here, right now. And as you observe this fire, you stare and watch as every flame moves and shifts and flickers. And with every movement, more things make sense and more realizations are brought up. And the more things that come up as you stare at the fire in this dark, starry night, the more you are called to make sense of, to decide, to embrace, or to let go. And with me, you take a deep breath in through your nose. Deep, 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 long, deep breath in. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it out through your mouth. Nice and slow, long breath out. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you take another deep breath, this is the moment of sheer confidence, of tangible authenticity, of fiery, impatient pursuit of what you really want deep down. And as you exhale one more time, long breath out, and hold it at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. You really settle into what you're doing, how you're moving next. And you settle into your breath and you ponder, how do I feel once this happens? How do I want to feel once I achieve this other thing? How am I going to handle it if this one other thing doesn't happen the way I hope? How can I best prepare for that? With me, take one more breath in through your nose. Long, deep breath in. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it out through your mouth. Long breath out all the way. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in again one more time. All the way up till you have no room. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale nice and slow. And as you sit in front of this fire, on this dark, starry night. Bring your hand to your chest, and you may repeat or ponder these affirmations. My inner landscape is a sacred space. I plant seeds of prosperity everywhere I go. I am at home in my emotions and dreams. I make sure my relationships are equally supportive and understanding of my needs and ideas. With me, take one last breath in through your nose. Deep, long, deep breath in. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out through your mouth. Long breath out. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in again. One last time. Deep breath in. All the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And release. One last time. And settle into that exhale. Hold it one last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And relax. And as you relax, bring your attention to your body. Unclench your jaw. Open your eyes. And come back to me. That was a lot. So I hope it all makes sense. I went so fast, and I'm just so excited for all of us, for all of the growth that this essentially means. A lot of us have already known each other for a year in this conversation, in this community, and it excites me to think that some of the things we have been talking about for a long time may now actually really start to come to fruition because of that fire and that tenacity that prompts us, or should be prompting us, to just take action and to just try. I feel like that's the thing. It's like, if all of it is an experimentation, right? I love that word. I have to use that word in coaching quite often, because how else are you going to know if something resonates if you don't try it, if you don't experiment? And a lot of it is experimentation because we just don't know, right? And we shouldn't know. We can't just take someone else's experience of it and then assume it as our own. We have to really figure out how to do it, for ourselves and by ourselves. And so there's a lot of experimentation involved in life in general. And Aries really just wants us to take the bait and see what happens. So I'm excited. It's going to be such a productive year. I love you all. Thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, I'm so grateful for you. Leave a review, leave a question, or join us on Fireside Chat app so that you can join the conversation. I will see you all next Monday. I love you all. Bye.